Israel's Prime Minister warns of a long and difficult war with Hamas. Israel has expanded its ground operations and ramped up its airstrikes. 3 weeks after Hamas's horrific massacre of 1,400 Israelis.
We've shifted a phase in the war. Last night, the ground in Gaza shook.
Enough is enough. This war has to stop. The carnage against our people has to stop.
The UK has called for a humanitarian pause, but not a ceasefire.
I have seen or heard nothing from Hamas that gives me any confidence that they either desire or would abide by calls for a ceasefire.
Across the country, crowds have gathered to demand an end to violence in order to protect civilian life. Meanwhile, at home, the government faces another potential threat to international security: artificial intelligence.
These reports provide a stark warning. In the most unlikely but extreme cases, there is even the risk that humanity could lose control of AI completely.
This week, the government's AI summit will look at the benefits and challenges of the fast-developing technology. So, on this programme, we're asking, how should the government deal with conflict abroad and new tech at home? To help us answer those questions, the Secretary of State for Science, Innovation and Technology, Michelle Donnellan, is here in the studio. AI billionaire Alex Karp is here, the co-founder of Palantir Technologies, a firm in the running for a big NHS contract. Shadow Science and Technology Secretary Peter Kyle is here for Labour. And two fathers, one Israeli, one Palestinian, whose daughters have been killed in this long-running conflict, will talk about their hopes for peace.
We need to share this land. Probably it's better than sharing these two huge graveyards for our children.
Hello, good morning. Let me introduce you to our panel today. We have Liberal Democrat MP Layla Moran, who is of Palestinian origin and who has relatives in Gaza and the West Bank. David Davis is here, Conservative MP and former Brexit Secretary, and Alison Phillips, editor of the Daily Mirror. Thank you very much for being here. We will hear more from you a little later. Let's have a quick look at some of the stories making the front pages today. Most of them are leading on Israel and Gaza. The Sun's headline is "The Earth Shook." The Observer goes with Netanyahu declares a second war of independence as fears for Gazans grow. The Telegraph says Israel sends in elite troops for long war. And too late to make the papers, but all over the websites, Friends star Matthew Perry was found dead in his home last night, aged 54. He played Chandler, as you know.
I am totally naked.
Oh, yeah.
I've had that dream.
Then I look down and I realize there is a phone there.
Instead of...
That's right.
Never had that dream.
All of a sudden, the phone starts to ring. And it turns out it's my mother. Which is very, very weird because she never calls me.
Matthew Perry, who has died aged 54. First on the programme, we are going to talk to our international editor, Jeremy Bowen, who is in southern Israel to get the latest on what is happening in Gaza. The Hamas-run health ministry says more than 8,000 people have been killed since Israel's retaliatory bombing began in response to the Hamas massacre of 1,440 Israelis on October the 7th. The families of some of the 220 hostages abducted by Hamas, prescribed as a terrorist organisation by the UK government, met the Israeli Prime Minister yesterday, and Mr Netanyahu told them he would exhaust every possibility to bring them home. Jeremy, today, this morning, tell our audience what we do know.
Well, what I can tell you is that I'm about 10 kilometres from Gaza, and since I woke up at about 6:30 this morning, there's been continuous drumbeat of Israeli artillery fire into Gaza. Been counting maybe 5 or 6 large bangs every minute. What we've also heard, and I think this is a really worrying development actually, though it can't be surprising, is that UNRWA, which is the United Nations agency which is the principal supplier of humanitarian services, relief, education, etc., medical care to Palestinian refugees in Gaza, says that thousands of people have broken open their warehouses in Rafah. They have a large logistical base in Rafah, which is at the bottom end of the Gaza Strip, we're near the top end of the Gaza Strip. And they had some stockpiles there, but they're being looted by, according to the press release that's come out of it. It's very hard to follow exactly what's going on. The Israelis are not, they're keeping what they're doing pretty quiet, very quiet. And while some connectivity has been restored, the rest of Gaza has been cut off for several days from the rest of the world in terms of communications.
And what do we know for sure?
Well, we know for sure that Israel has gone in. We know for sure that this is their ground operation. There's a large fog of war around it, but this is the ground operation they've been talking to, and I think everybody thought they would throw everything at it straight from the get-go, but that's not what they're doing. They're being a little more subtle, and perhaps this is the influence of the Americans. Some Israeli analysts have said to me that instead of just rushing in, which is more the Israeli way, they say, they're going slice by slice, I think, moving from the north into Gaza, and they are sending out more, well, they call them warnings, but they're orders really to Palestinians to get out of the territory or expect the worst. I think as well as that, what we know is that there is a massive humanitarian crisis throughout Gaza, that there is no safe place there for any civilians. We know as well that the United Nations has said that imposing a state of siege on Gaza is a violation of international humanitarian law, i.e. the laws of war, because a collective punishment of an entire population is not permitted by those laws. So I think the last thing I'll probably mention in this is Mr. Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel's remarks last night, where he said, this is the second war of independence, this is going to go on for months. So there you are, he said it.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Jeremy Bowen, our international editor. Well, the British government says the UK has urged Israel to minimise civilian casualties. It's not calling for a ceasefire. We'll be asking the Science, Innovation and Technology Secretary, Michelle Donnellan, about this, but also obviously about this week's summit on artificial intelligence. That's the new tech where computers and machines absorb huge amounts of data and learn to perform tasks that in the past could only have been done by humans. Welcome to you, Ms. Donnellan.
Good morning.
Let's ask you first about the situation in Gaza. The British and American governments have spent most of the last week calling for a humanitarian pause. You've failed, haven't you?
Look, we have called for a humanitarian pause so that more access to aid can be supplied, so that we can get more of our British nationals out of that situation as well.
It's fallen on deaf ears.
So look, we continue to call for a pause, as do other nations like America, and we continue to urge for civilian lives to be lost at a minimum, because nobody wants to see the deaths that we're seeing at the moment. Nobody wants to see the situation that is happening on the ground. That's why getting aid in is absolutely essential. And the Rafah border has been open partially. Some aid has got in. We threw over 21 tonnes this week. We've increased our contribution to £30 million. We are dedicated to ensuring that help is getting into the region.
Do you think Israel should stop its ground incursion now to avoid killing more innocent people, to get the aid in and to get those hostages out?
I think that Israel has a right to defend itself. You know, what we saw the other week was absolutely horrendous. It was a massacre on a scale that was absolutely appalling. We saw the rape of innocent women, children and babies being killed. It was atrocious. So of course they have a right to defend themselves. If that had happened to us, we'd want to be protecting our people. We'd want to be trying to get our hostages back. And so Israel has a right to do that. What we've been very clear about, though, is that they need to do that in a way that is in line with international human rights legislation, and that they also need to make sure that they are minimising those citizens being killed.
Is that what we're seeing, do you think?
So what we're seeing is Israel trying to defend itself. We know that Hamas mesh themselves within the system locally. We know that they use local people as human shields. It is very difficult, therefore, to target Hamas without hurting innocent people. But we have urged Israel to try.
Sure. Does that mean you are accepting that more innocent civilians will be killed?
I'm saying it is very, very difficult because of what Hamas are doing. You know, the enemy here is Hamas. We need to be really clear. I think we've got to be very careful here.
I understand what you're saying. Do you accept that it means that more innocent civilians are going to be killed?
So what I'm saying is we need to accept who the real enemy is here.
Sure.
The real enemy is the terrorist organisation Hamas. Who is it that has created all the tunnels underneath the local population?
And Israel's
Hamas,
Israel's aim, publicly stated aim, is to eliminate Hamas, to wipe out Hamas. And I'm asking you, do you accept that more innocent civilian lives will be lost in order for them to achieve that aim?
So what we've said is we want those losses to be minimised because we don't want to see anybody suffer as a result of the actions of Hamas. But they are the enemy here. They are the ones that are using local people as human shields. They are the ones that when Israel says go south, they say stay put. Now, that is the problem that Israel is facing. But do they have a right to defend themselves? Of course they do, just like we would if that happened on our shores.
Let's move on to the International AI Safety Summit that the UK is hosting this coming week. You say you want the UK, Rishi Sunak says he wants the UK to be a leader in safe AI.
Yeah.
Let's just have a look at some of the things that the Prime Minister said in his speech this week on AI. And they were quite frightening. AI could make it easier to build chemical or biological weapons. Terrorist groups could use AI to spread fear and destruction on an even greater scale. Criminals could exploit AI for cyber attacks, disinformation, fraud, even child sexual abuse. And there is even the risk that humanity could lose control of AI completely. And then he said, don't be alarmist and don't lose sleep at night. I mean, that seems like a contradiction.
No, I think what we've done in this country is something very different to other countries. We've been really open, honest and transparent with the British public. We're the first country in the world to publish a range of documents outlining the potential risks, one produced by leading scientists, one produced with national intelligence input, and that detailed the potential risks. It's important to remember there is a debate about a lot of this stuff as to whether it could even materialise. And what we've said is, even if there's a debate, as a responsible government, we need to make sure that we're getting ahead of this, we're being proactive.
When you say getting ahead, the US already has an AI safety agreement with the major tech firms in the States. China has its own AI legislation. The EU is developing its own. Why on earth would the world agree to make the UK the home of safe AI?
Well, it's a good question because actually we've invested more than any other country in the world when it comes to AI safety. We set up something called the...
But they're ahead of us.
No, they're not ahead of us. Could you let me answer? So if I answer.
Sure.
So we are ahead. We're investing more than any other nation. We already secured an agreement with those AI companies for model access. We set up a frontier AI task force with some of the best and the brightest across the world, including people like Yoshua Bengio, known as the godfather of AI. The Prime Minister announced just last week that would actually then become the prototype for something called the AI Institute, which would be global in terms of its outputs, trying to work with our partners. No other country has got that infrastructure. We are leading the way in this space.
Do you still want light touch regulation for AI?
So I think it's really important that we understand the problem before we inject fixed solutions. That's why we are taking a different tack to some of the nations that you referenced,
do you still want light
like
touch
the EU.
regulation?
We need regulation that is nimble and agile. We've set out the principles that our regulators should work to, but we need to better understand this problem. We need to really grip the risk. That's why, for the first time ever, we've called the world round the table next week for the first ever AI Global Safety Summit. We've convened those people so we can get to grips with the risks and understand what mitigations, what guardrails should we put in place.
Let's talk about how AI is going to change the lives of everybody watching this programme right now. People might be worried about how it could affect their jobs. On Wednesday, was it Wednesday? Thursday, Rishi Sunak talks about the fact that new jobs will come with AI. Even if those new jobs do come along, do you accept that some current jobs will be lost?
So one of the things that we are discussing at the summit next week is the societal impacts that could be produced from AI.
So
one of those is around jobs,
go.
but I think we need to change the conversation on this. Yes, there are new jobs that will come, but it will undoubtedly change the labour market. Every technology does. If we look back to 1940, 60% of the jobs today didn't exist then, according to a number of studies. but it also has the ability to change the way that we work, reduce some of the admin, the bureaucracy, allow doctors to have more time with face-to-face treatment of patients, allow teachers to have more time in the actual classroom, less on of the paperwork. This is about enabling and assisting people in their jobs, not taking away their jobs. But yes, it will change our labour market.
A lot of organisations who look at AI have already expressed concerns about how the government is using simpler algorithms right now. Everyone will remember what happened with the A-level results fiasco in the pandemic, where an algorithm, when it looked at smart kids in disadvantaged areas, deemed that they couldn't be clever because they lived in disadvantaged areas, and it dragged their results down. So why should anyone trust the government after that shambles?
Well, they should trust the government because we have brought some of the very best people when it comes to AI, the expertise that we've brought on board to be able to
How can that happen then if you've got the experts here?
Well, because we set up the new Department of Science, Innovation and Technology in February. Since then, we've been on a mission to bring in some of the very best and brightest global thinkers when it comes to AI. When we look at the summit next week, we've got a collection of people from civil society, companies,
so people
countries,
should trust
all around
you
the
because
world.
you've got the experts here. Not because the government knows what it's doing.
So it's a combination of both. Nobody fully knows the risk, which I've said a moment ago. We've been really transparent about that.
OK, well,
we shouldn't just work domestically, but also globally.
Sure,
that's why we're organising the summit.
I'm talking about how you're already using it in public services. If we look at the Department for Work and Pensions benefits, the boss of the Public Spending Watchdog had this to say on the use of AI to check for the likelihood of fraud in benefits claims. He said there is an inherent risk that the algorithms are biased towards selecting claims for review from certain vulnerable people or groups with protected characteristics, i.e. Race, age, disability. He goes on to say the Department for Work and Pensions says its ability to test for unfair impacts across protected characteristics is currently limited. Again, I ask the question, how can we trust the government with this technology when you can't even tell in the DWP if the system they're using, the algorithm they're using, is sexist, ageist or racist?
Well, no, look, I reject that, but there are risks.
Sorry, hang on, wait. You can't reject it because that is what the officials are saying is already happening in the DWP.
So when I've spoken to the DWP Secretary of State, I've spoken to him about the impact that AI is having in reducing the administration that caseworkers are facing, their ability
I'm sure you've talked to him about all the benefits. I'm talking to you about the unfair impacts that the boss of the spending watchdog highlighted, which are going on in the DWP right now and penalising potentially vulnerable groups of people.
And I'm saying to you, I don't recognise that that is happening in the DWP, but what we are being very open about is there are risks when it comes to AI. There are risks around bias, disinformation, etc. And that's why we're holding a global summit to address it. This is a government that is on the front foot, that is being proactive, that's not shying away from this important topic, and is saying let's grip these risks so that we can get these opportunities into our NHS, into tackling global challenges like climate change.
OK, on the NHS, I want to ask you about one of the attendees at the AI Summit, a guy called Alex Karp, he's CEO of Palantir, and we're going to hear an interview with him in a moment. His company is in the running for a £500 million NHS contract to bring patients' data together. How might that benefit people watching this programme right now?
Well, we know within our NHS, one of our biggest USPs, if you like, is our data. And it is an untapped resource to a certain extent to enable us to tackle a number of diseases. And AI can transform that. And we've been looking at that already in a number of ways. We've today just announced £100 million that will accelerate our missions in a number of areas, including tackling dementia, mental health. These are things that people are dealing with all the time in their families, their friends, and AI holds the key to tackling them head on.
You called it an untapped resource. I asked Alex Karp if his company would ever be in a position to sell on this data. He said it would never be, it's not in his gift. He said it will be down to you. Will you sell on NHS patients' data?
We have some of the world's leading data protection laws. In fact, we've got a bill passing through Parliament.
So what's the answer to the question then?
No, we're not in the business of damaging people's privacy or rights to data protection. So I'm not going to get into some hypothetical, but what I can tell you... No,
it's not. It's really important because people won't sign up for it. People will want to opt out of it if you can't guarantee them on behalf of the government that you won't sell on their private data in the future.
We're not going to start selling on people's private data, of course not, without their consent. What we're talking about here is enabling us to utilise the data around the NHS to tackle some of the biggest diseases that people are facing so that they can live healthier, longer, happier lives. I think it's really important that we don't scare the British public when actually we have the opportunity here to grip some of these risks and transform our NHS.
Thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Science Secretary Michelle Donnellan. What do you think? Do let us know this morning. You can contact us by emailing kuenssberg@bbc.co.uk or on social media using the hashtag #BBCLauraK. We absolutely love to hear from you. And if you want to read the headlines as they unfold, just go to the BBC Live page. It's bbc.co.uk/news. Let's talk to our panel this morning. Laila Moran, David Davis, Alison Phillips, welcome. Thank you for your patience. Laila Moran, let me ask you, first of all, you have family in Gaza City. Tell us about them.
So this is extended family on my mother's side. My mum's Palestinian, my dad's British. 3 generations. In the first week of the following the atrocities that were committed by Hamas on October the 7th, an IDF bomb hit their house, and they went to their local church. We're Christian Palestinians, and they've been there ever since. There are 100 people now in that church, and we're deeply, deeply worried for their safety.
When I spoke to you yesterday on the phone, you had not been able to contact them because of the blackout. Have you now?
Yeah, so the 24, 48 hours where the internet and everything else was cut was tortuous. I mean, not knowing if they were dead or alive. We're worried for them anyway. And I can't tell you what that did to us as a family. And we have heard since, because someone in the church has a foreign SIM which can connect to the Israeli networks, has put out a message saying that for now they're safe. I would say a couple of things, though. First of all, I mean, I heard the Secretary of State just now suggest that, you know, it's Hamas that's stopping them from leaving. That is not what's happening. I find it deeply offensive to suggest that Hamas is giving my family any kind of marching orders. That's not, they have nothing to do with Hamas. The reason they're there is because it's 3 generations. One is frail. We've got 11-year-old twins. And
so they can't move.
They can't move. There's bombing in the south. There was bombing on the so-called safe route that they were given to get to the south. Nowhere in Gaza is safe. And Victoria, the conversation in Gaza now, I'm afraid to say, has changed. No longer are people saying, where do we go to be safe? The question they are now asking is, where do we want to be when we die?
Oh my God.
And that, this is not hyperbole. This is very much what, not just from them, but their friends and family that we are in touch with. It is, I cannot overstress the situation. So when I hear from the government that they want to minimise civilian casualties, I have to say to them that they are failing. The strategy of, you know, the UK government, America, and what they are essentially sanctioning in the way that Israel is responding. Israel has every right to respond, and I agree, if it was us, we would respond too. But how they respond is so important, because at the end of this, we want to get to a point where we don't see this kind of carnage ever again, we need to get to that 2-state solution. That's what we have to aim for.
And before that, you're calling for a ceasefire.
A humanitarian ceasefire.
What does that mean?
So it's actually not dissimilar from where the government is. We want to get aid in, we want hostages out. But where I would say we are different is we do think there needs to also be political space to take the temperature down. We're seeing escalatory language from the Israeli government at the moment. Okay. We need to take the temperature down and create space for those talks that will eventually lead to the ceasefire that I know so many in this country desperately want.
Do you agree?
Not entirely, no. I mean, look, nobody can listen to Laila without their heart stopping, frankly, over those sorts of things. And she's right. The duty of a country carrying out a legal war is to minimise casualties. It doesn't mean casualties will be zero, ever.
But are you
know that. There will be thousands more, I'm sure, I'm afraid.
And are you comfortable with that?
Nobody's comfortable with it, but the truth is that they have got to, I mean, they've had this threat from Hamas for the last 18 years, well, longer, but, and they need to eradicate it. If this were this country, if it were this country, and it was in proportion, we'd be talking about 10,000 people killed. 1,400 in terms of proportion to, and how would we react? How would my constituents be demanding that we do something about it? And it's not about revenge. A lot of people are confusing revenge and dealing with the military problem. They've got to destroy 300 miles of tunnels. They've got to kill, I'm afraid, a large number of Hamas fighters, and that's going to have a collateral cost.
But David,
even if it's minimised.
But if I may, I mean, I agree. I mean, I would love nothing more than to be able to be rid of Hamas. I mean, they are doing nothing for the Palestinians either. But you know, the withdrawal of fuel, water, food, this was a decision that the Israeli government made, and I've not seen anything from this government that has actively challenged that. And you know, the UN is saying that's a potential breach of international humanitarian law. We have to be stronger.
I think, as with everything we've seen over the past 2 to 3 weeks, there is a real concern about for the people in Gaza now. Again, as you say, there was absolute horror at the atrocity, and that remains. But I think people in this country now are just so upset and tired of those pictures of poor children. And that really, whilst Israel does have a right to defend itself, of course, it's the way that is now being done. The
interesting thing, of course, is that it's actually in Israel's interest to get this right in terms of minimizing.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
Both immediately, because otherwise the support for their own war will go away. But also, in the long run, there's got to be a solution, a peaceable solution.
Not just a peaceable. Can we be very clear? You know, we want 2 states, 2 people, where people aren't living in fear and can thrive.
We agree
and, and I think the international community has taken their eye off the ball. Certainly the last 10 years, arguably much longer than that. This has been 75 years of hurt. My 94-year-old grandmother is re-traumatized this week. She's crying every day. This needs to stop. And all those people who are watching this and saying, actually, I don't want to pick a side. I just want to be on the side of peace, which I think is where most people are. Get behind the 2-state solution and push our government to fight for it, because we are in a position to do so, and we haven't been.
But there's a step towards that. I mean, how do they get there? Once this war is over, and it's going to be, I suspect, at least 6 months, probably longer. What do they do with Gaza then? The Israelis are not going to run Gaza. They've said so themselves. They've said it's a matter for the international community. The people who are going to be most important are going to be the Sunni states.
Hold on. I've heard you.
Well, let me finish. Let me finish the sentence later, and then by all means come back. It's going to be the Sunni states, like Saudi, like Egypt, like Qatar, and so on, who are probably going to have to do something to support.
Okay, Laila Moran,
just simply to say, yes, the international community, especially Arab states, need to get involved. But please, let's not lose sight. This is Palestinians are perfectly capable, given free and fair elections, which are needed, and we need to get rid of, which they haven't, and we absolutely need, are perfectly capable of governing ourselves. That's what we need.
Okay. Alison, can I talk about AI and where your readers are on AI? Obviously, the UK hosting this AI Safety Summit this week. What are they thinking about this new tech?
Well, I think our readers, as with sort of many people in this country, perhaps the vast majority, are fairly terrified at the moment. So when you had the Prime Minister last week saying that we could actually lose all control of AI entirely, what are people supposed to feel? Yes, there's the short-term concerns about their children's jobs, about we've had the health minister, the science minister there, who wasn't able to definitively tell you that she wouldn't sell on, it took a lot to drag that bit of information out of it, that she wouldn't sell on people's health data. So whilst there's this sort of lack of trust, and also I think everything we've seen with big tech over the last few years is that we've got a government that's enthralled to big tech, and very little attempt to monitor and to regulate them, and that really, so we're having there's going to be a big conference as if that's going to somehow be the answer. We need really close regulation. We need to be on this, and we need to be working globally with partners to ensure that normal people in this country do not become the victims of big tech, as they have done in so many other ways.
Laila Moran, you're not only the Lib Dems Foreign Affairs spokesperson, but you're also their spokesperson when it comes to science and technology. Where are you on AI? How do you think we should be approaching it? What do you think of the idea of this safety summit?
Well, first of all, I mean, broadly speaking, the Liberal Democrats are, embracing of new technologies. We think that there is lots of good in it. We completely understand the fears that people have at home about what it's going to mean for their lives, their data, and their jobs. So I think that Safety Summit and anything like it is very good. The OECD has been working on this for some time. We know that the EU is legislating. Where we think the government should be moving towards is new legislation. I don't think it's quite enough to have this light touch approach. I did think it was extraordinary, given, I think that for what it's worth, Rishi Sunak correctly identified the risks. But then he's light touch regulation. This isn't going to work. What we need is legislation with a common framework that is cross-sectoral, and the reason for that is twofold. First of all, if we are going to help people understand this, we need to have robust processes in place so that they can have confidence in this, so they can go out and use it. The way to increase productivity in this country is to give people confidence. But the second group we need to give confidence to is business.
Okay, because business can harness the effects of AI.
Standards help business.
We're going to hear in a moment, David Davis, from the boss of a company called Palantir, which is in the running for a big NHS contract. Now, you have concerns about the company. You've written to the NAO about it. Why?
Well,
briefly.
Firstly, this is the third attempt by the NHS to bring its data under control. It's wasted billions in the past, and they've all failed because it hasn't understood how important privacy is.
Right.
Not just
so
whether you sell it.
Is it the NHS England that's failed, or is it the government of the day that's failed?
NHS England has failed time and time again, and the difficulty here is that Palantir, the company who seems to be the lead runner to do this data management, almost bought its way in. It did the first contract for the NHS for £1, right, to get its foot in the door, and now it's not left. It's got its own software in there, and its history is of a company that was originally funded by American intelligence agencies.
So what?
Well, but I want the company that actually runs our database to be utterly trustworthy and in our own control.
Okay. Well, let's hear from then the boss of Palantir. It is one of the big AI firms coming to Rishi Sunak's Safety Summit. It's a US-based company named after the Seeing Stones in Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. And as we've heard, it is in the running to win a £500 million contract to provide AI software to bring NHS patients' data together. It's known as the Federated Data Platform. Well, Palantir's involvement with the NHS started, as Mr. Davis just said, with a £1 contract back in 2020 during the pandemic, when it used AI to help trusts decide how best to deploy their resources. So I asked Alex Karp, the CEO, yesterday how people can be sure their data will be safe with them if they win the contract.
We've been at this for 20 years. We're the only company of our size and scale that doesn't buy your data, doesn't sell your data, doesn't transfer it to any other company. That data belongs to the government of the United Kingdom.
Let me read you this quote from Doctors Association UK, who are concerned about Palantir or any private company taking on the role of bringing all this data together. They point out that recent polling from YouGov has found that almost half of adults in England who have not yet opted out of having their data used, 48% are likely to do so should the Federated Data Platform be introduced and run by a private company. That must alarm you.
Yes, it is very, but there's a reason for that. And I'll tell you the reason. Because almost every other private company in the world, besides my company, will take that data and transfer it to somebody else. And so if you're in England, you assume that when a private company touches your data, that they're going to use it for their purposes.
Yes.
Palantir doesn't do that.
Yeah, but you might in the future.
We've never done it in 20 years.
Sure, but you may in the future.
Well, first of all, we wouldn't even be able to. So the way our product is set up, I don't have access to your data. Our product does not allow you to do that.
Okay, well, let me put this to you. If that number of people do opt out, then Doctors Association UK says that will have a catastrophic impact on the quality of NHS data, which is an extremely precious British health resource. I mean, if that many people opt out, then the data becomes meaningless.
First of all, my strong supposition is that people are assuming things will happen with the data that don't happen, and that when you show them that it's not going to happen, and you can show them in real life that they won't. But leaving that aside, when you go to the doctor now, you have a pile of paper. Mm-hmm. So you go to the doctor now, not just here, but anywhere in the world, anywhere not using.
No, I get the reasons why. I get the reasons why and why it would make things way more efficient.
Let me explain to you why people, I think, will opt in. First of all, you have to answer these questions in a transparent way. Then you have to show people that for the first time, their hospital bed is available. They understand why it's available. They understand if it's not available, why it's not available. When they go to the doctors, they don't have to fill out the paper, work 15 times and watch it get lost.
I understand that. I understand that. What I'm putting to you is, you say you can never do it, you've got no plans to sell this data, or what I'm putting to you is, if you've got all that data, as Doctors Association UK says, an extremely precious British resource, in one place, that opens the door in the future to it being sold. Correct?
But by the UK government, not by me.
Okay.
I don't have the ability to do it.
You can see why people are concerned then.
Absolutely. So the way to deal with people's concerns is to show them this is going to be much better for your life. It's going to improve your health outcome. By the way, the NHS has a huge problem with backlog. Those problems are not solvable without technology.
Okay. Your company is in the running to win this huge contract, according to Foxglove, which campaigns to make technology fairer for everybody, and according to Doctors Association UK, as a result of what they call pandemic opportunism and a concerted lobbying effort. What would you say to that?
We go to clients all the time and we say, look, we believe our product is the best. We will give it to you for free and you can test it. By the way, it's the other thing I would say. We're giving you the single most successful enterprise product in America, the most difficult place to win in.
Okay.
So,
well, just so we make it clear for our audience, your company charged the NHS just £1 in 2020 to develop its COVID data store, which holds personal information on patients around diagnosis, treatment, etc. You then gave the government for free an IT system.
By the way, what's the problem with that?
Well, let me get to the end of the question, if I may. You then gave the government for free an IT system to help with its Homes for Ukraine scheme. The government's procurement watchdog wrote to you about his concerns about how you gained a commercial foothold. He's concerned.
Just let me explain something that's more towards America. We have a problem in America in government that a lot of the software doesn't work. And so they're basically attacking us for saying, I know our software works. Most of the software that these entities use, as everybody in the NHS knows, is not working. So I want to prove to whether it's the United Kingdom's government or it's my massive business in American commercial. If I show up to you as a smart person and say, my software's so good, I'm going to charge you $10 million. You're like, well, if it's so good, why can't I try it? So it's because that's what every smart person is going to say. I've been all over the world over 20 years. I spend most
But isn't it also true, Mr. Cox, sorry to interrupt, isn't it also true, it then puts you in pole position for a really lucrative contract like this one with the NHS?
Everybody in the world who's in this business should do the same thing. One of the things.
But do you accept it puts you in pole position?
I use this way of going to market because I believe most software products don't work. It only puts us in an advantageous position because everybody who doesn't like it, by and large, does not believe their product works, or they would do the same thing. By the way, that product, under those conditions, saved thousands and thousands and thousands of lives across the world during the COVID epidemic. Thousands of lives.
I wonder if you could sum up for our audience watching then, what are some of the biggest benefits that can come from AI, and what are some of the biggest threats?
Well, the benefits are, again, better care at the point of need in healthcare. Every system in the United Kingdom works better, and those are the real benefits. Like your life expectancy goes up, your happiness goes up. You can fight against the evils of AI, including discrimination and false imagery.
What about the risks?
And the biggest risk is that the technology develops to the point where it's dangerous to us all, and that is a real risk. And that's why we need government officials to be actively looking at this, actively have a better understanding of how these things work, and can be able to intervene when it looks like it's going off the rails.
Let's talk about the AI summit, which is why you're in the UK. Rishi Sunak has explained why he's invited China, because he says it would be ridiculous not to have China. They're a huge investor in AI. Is he right?
Look, I think your Prime Minister's brought together what is arguably the most important AI summit to ever happen outside of America. It is positioning the United Kingdom to be the leader in Europe.
Should China be there?
I believe that we are in an arms race and that the world is fracturing. And if it was my decision to invite adversarial countries, I would not have.
And finally, I wonder how we're already seeing a sort of divide growing between tech-savvy international billionaires like yourself and the majority of people who might be trying to keep up with this technology and also thinking, hang on, it's potentially going to take my job and take away meaningful work and an income.
Yeah, well, this is a very legitimate concern because in most situations where you have a leap forward in technological innovation, the average worker pays the price.
Mm-hmm. Will it be the same this time?
Well, this is a context where I think embraced correctly, you'll have more jobs. Simply for the reason I mentioned, that you can now plausibly do things as well or better than any other country in a business-friendly, entrepreneurial environment like the United Kingdom. One of the things I hope this summit and this begins to get across to people is this technology can actually be the friend of the average worker. Whereas in most cases, these technologies, people at the top benefit and get wealthier and happier, and everyone else gets poorer and hungrier and lives a worse lifestyle.
So how can this technology be the friend of the average worker?
Because you can now build a lot of things in the United Kingdom that were difficult to build in the past. And this is a much better place to build them.
Alex Karp. Now, Labour is becoming increasingly divided over the Israel-Hamas war. 13 members of Sir Keir Starmer's frontbench have now defied his leadership and called for a ceasefire. So far, he said he's backing a humanitarian pause and supports Israel's right to defend itself. This is what some of his senior colleagues have said this week.
I joined the international community in calling for a ceasefire. It would stop the killing and would allow vital aid supplies to reach those who need it in Gaza.
We need to see the immediate release of hostages, the immediate cessation of violence with an end to rocket fire into and out of Gaza. And let me be clear, that means a ceasefire right now.
How many more innocent Palestinians must die before this Prime Minister calls for humanitarian ceasefire?
Well, let's talk to Peter Kyle, Labour's Shadow Science and Technology Secretary. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So you've just seen there the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, the leader of Scottish Labour, Anna Sawar, and your frontbench colleague, Yasmin Qureshi, all calling for a ceasefire. Why are they wrong?
We are united as a party.
No, you're not.
We are united as a party in condemning what is unfolding across the region. We need to find a way forward that can bring long-term peace to the area. What we are focused on is what is affecting people now, today, in Gaza.
So why are they wrong to call for a ceasefire then?
We are united in sympathy with what is unfolding there and impacting civilians.
But you're not united when it comes to Sir Keir Starmer's stance, which is we want a humanitarian pause, and 13 frontbench colleagues, plus multiple councillors across the country who want a ceasefire.
Keir called for a humanitarian pause days ago, actually around the same time that the US was calling for it. Now the EU is calling for it, and most of our global partners are calling for it. When you look at what is happening and unfolding, the really terrible situation that is unfolding, that is impacting individuals in a terrible way in Gaza, what they need now, today, is support. They need food, they need water, they need medicine, and they need fuel to power some of the hospital facilities that are there. We can do that right away, quickly, if we can agree to a humanitarian pause. Some of the calls for broader ceasefires, it's just too ambiguous to know what it means in practice and what it means for Israel in terms of securing the release of the hostages, 200 plus hostages, 2 of which are British citizens. We don't know what it means for Israel and its ability to tackle the tunnels and some of the other terrorist infrastructure that is there. What we do know for fact is if we can create the space for a pause now for humanitarian activity, we need to grab it with both hands. It is practical, it could be delivered, and it's within the lines of what is deliverable with our relationship with Israel right now.
So on Friday, your Shadow Cabinet colleague Steve Reed said a ceasefire was wrong because it would leave Hamas's terrorist capability intact. Does Labour support Israel's ground incursion as the only way to eliminate Hamas then?
Well, we will support Israel's right within international law to secure its borders and create a safety for its citizens. It has the legal right to do.
Sure. Hang on. No. So the question was, do you support then Israel's ground operation as the only way to eliminate Hamas?
Well, you're asking me to judge success of it when it is...
I'm asking whether you support it or not.
Well, you are asking me to make judgments on military operations that are unfolding now. And I think in the last week, both politicians and the media have learnt the hard way that judging military operations when they are unfolding is unwise.
Okay, well,
we are urging and we insist that Israel acts within international law as it does so. Keir Starmer has done this consistently through. Let me just say to you about the way that Keir Starmer has led this within the party. We are one of the most diverse political parties in Europe. We have both traditions that are reflected in the Middle East right now within our party. That is a strength, not a weakness. Keir has been listening to people with both perspectives within the party and has turned it into a set of policy announcements and calls that would make a tangible difference on the ground and is within the step of the international community.
The Israeli Defence Force say civilian deaths in this conflict are inevitable in order to eliminate Hamas. Do you accept that?
I was an aid worker for almost 10 years.
It's really just a yes or no.
I accept that when there is war, there is civilian casualties. And as somebody who was an aid worker, I know what that looks like in practice. And believe me, it is barbaric, it is unfair, and that is why we should work with everything we have got to try and end this conflict and have in our mind the long-term two-state solution, which is the only credible way of delivering long-term stability, not just to Israel, and the dignity that the Palestinian people need, but also to the whole region and the globe as well. What we're seeing now is desperately unstable, it is unwise, and yes, innocent civilians are dying when they should not be.
And do you accept that more innocent civilians are going to die in the pursuit of eliminating Hamas, which is Israel's aim?
For as long as there is war, there will be civilian casualties, and that is desperately, desperately hurtful, and it is desperately sad for everyone.
So shouldn't you be calling for a ceasefire?
Well, we could de-escalate really quickly if Hamas would just release the hostages. That would be the single biggest thing that could change the dynamic in the region. Why aren't they? Because they are bound by no international law. Nobody is calling for them to be bound by international law. They seized 200 plus hostages, 2 of which are British citizens, and if they release those hostages now, then that could give us the opportunity for a diplomatic way forward that could protect civilians.
Okay.
That is the sort of thing that could be done. That's the sort of thing that we should be working towards, and then we can get back to the table and start thinking about the long-term solutions, because we can't return to the status quo.
Right.
The status quo got us where we are, and I think Israel would accept that as well.
Do you think your 13 frontbench colleagues who have publicly disagreed with Sir Keir Starmer on this should be disciplined?
It is a complete strength of our party that we have this debate within us, and Keir Starmer as leader has come to a firm decision on the way forward that would immediately change people on the ground.
So no, they shouldn't be disciplined.
I think that the fact we have a vigorous debate within our party, as we are doing as a country, and as we are doing actually as a globe right now, reflects a strength, because we have a leader that has channeled that and turned it into a policy that is in step with all of our international partners. A strength of our leadership, certainly not a weakness of our party.
OK, so not abiding by collective responsibility is a strength.
Victoria, people are calling for a ceasefire. We are calling for a pause.
I know.
So we can dance on the head of a pin about what the nature of a ceasefire. But what is happening right now?
We're not dancing on the head of a pin. We're not dancing on the head of a pin. The two things are different. Sir Keir Starmer's position is a humanitarian pause. A number of your frontbench colleagues, people who potentially could be in government in a year's time, are essentially rebelling against their leader's position. So I'm asking you, is Sir Keir Starmer really in control?
Keir has listened to all of the voices within the party, and we are, a strength of our party is the fact we have so many people with lived connections to what's happening in the Middle East. He has turned that into a set of policies that are in step with our international commitments and our international partners, and would make a tangible difference to what's happening in the ground today. Now, we will continue the debate within the party because we don't know what's going to unfold into the future. And of course, we want an end to this conflict as quickly as possible. We want to move to the diplomatic solution that we need to. And Keir is doing so, leading in a way which has strength. It has absolutely firm policies that are implementable and in line with the international community right now. That shows that he has a grip on our party. And yes, we are having a debate, and Keir is engaged in that debate. But don't ever doubt his leadership ability and his ability to actually turn this into a set of policies which unites our party in calling for an end to the conflict in a way that secures a safe and free Israel, and hopefully can lead to a Palestinian state down the line.
Is he going to sack them?
Well, look, what he's going to do, I suspect, is to continue engaging with them.
So no. OK. Can I ask you about AI? It's your brief. It's the big safety summit this week. Labour says it's the party of workers. A lot of research shows that even if AI generates new jobs, a lot of current jobs are going to be lost. Do you accept that?
I accept that it almost certainly will have a displacement within the job market, and I expect, yes, to answer the question directly, that some jobs will be lost as a result. That's why we need to get the regulation of AI right now. We need to make sure that we're investing in the skills of the future so that people in the workplace have adaptable skills. We're working with businesses in sectors where these jobs are going to be displaced and have an impact. And we are out there harnessing the benefits of this. It is extraordinary to me that we suddenly landed in a world where AI is having a meaningful impact. There are known biases which aren't going to be tackled in this conference next week. We're focusing on the theoretical challenges, which is scaring people. What we need to do is make sure that people have faith in government. The public debate on this should have started a long time ago, so we could be talking about the benefits, not now living on fear. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter Carl. Thank you. Amid the violence and killings in Israel and Gaza, a group of bereaved Palestinian and Israeli parents are working together and have been for years to campaign for peace and to promote understanding. Bassam Aramin and Rami Elhanan are part of the Parents Circle Families Forum, an organisation of people who've lost immediate family members in previous waves of the conflict. In 2007, Bassam's daughter Abia was shot dead outside her school in the West Bank by Israeli border police. She was 10 years old. Rami's daughter, Smada, was 14 when she was killed by a Palestinian suicide bomber in 1997. I spoke to both fathers.
I joined the Parents Circle Families Forum in the 16th of January 2007, 2 days after I lost my 10-year-old daughter, Abir, to an Israeli border police who shot and killed her in front of her school from a distance of 15 to 20 meters, night 10 in the morning. 2 days later, she passed away. And 2 days later, I joined the Parents Circle together with more than 700 families, Israelis and Palestinians, who lost their beloved one. And they believe that it is the only way to overcome our pain and to look forward to the future to save our other children.
Rami, let me ask you the same question. Why did you join the Parents Circle?
I lost my 14-year-old daughter, Smada, 26 years ago on the 4th of September 1997 in a Hamas suicide bombing in the center of Jerusalem. They killed 5 people that day, including 3 little girls, 14 years old. It took me a year of trying to understand what happened. And then I was invited by Mr. Yitzhak Frankenthal to join the Parents Circle, which gave me a reason to get out of bed in the morning, which gave me a meaning to a senseless killing of my daughter.
You have both lost daughters in the most brutal of circumstances. I want to ask you both, after the killings of Israelis and after the killings of Palestinians since October the 7th, what should happen now?
Unfortunately, the conflict didn't start since 2 weeks ago. It's decades before that. It should happen from the beginning. It's not to call for ceasefire, to have a lasting peace forever. It's to end the reason why we are killing each other, to end the occupation.
What do you say, Rami?
I look at the long line of little dead bodies of children, Israeli Jews and Palestinian from Gaza and from the West Bank, and my heart is broken and devastated. It's the feeling that everything is collapsing on our heads, and all the work that we did for the last decades was in vain. On the other hand, we know for sure, this is the slogan of this noble organization, that it will not stop unless we talk. We will not be able to throw the Palestinians to the desert. The Palestinians will not be able to throw us to the sea. We are doomed to live here together as one state or 10 states or 10,000 states. We need to share this land. Probably it's better than sharing these 2 huge graveyards for our children.
Is anyone listening to you though, Rami? I mean, you say you've been doing this for over a decade. Who is listening?
Many people listen. You know, when we get into a high school class in Israeli or Palestinian high school, the earth is shaking. For most of them, it's the first time they look at an Israeli and a Palestinian which are calling each other brother. And this earthquake creates the crack in the wall that we are looking for. A little light comes in. A little light can drive away a lot of darkness. And if in the end of the class there will be only one kid nodding his head with acceptance, it's a miracle. We saved one drop of blood.
So you call each other brothers?
Yes, we are brothers. Our relationship is above the conflict because we share the same kind of values. We care about human beings. We care about civilians. We care about democracy, freedom.
I wonder what hope you both have that you will see Israelis and Palestinians living side by side peacefully one day.
Hope is Bassam's department.
You know, it's not hope really. It's true. It's fact. This will happen because it's not written anywhere that we are going to continue killing each other. I hope both sides will learn from the history.
But will it be in your lifetime, Bassam?
Absolutely, yes. We're still young. We need to enjoy this peace to ourselves, not only for our children and our grandchildren. Always I said that the Palestinians didn't kill 6 million Israelis. The Israelis didn't kill 6 million Palestinians yet. And there is a German ambassador in Tel Aviv, but there is an Israeli ambassador in Berlin. Means the level of hatred and blood didn't arrive to this level between the Israelis and the Palestinians. We need to learn from the history and to release ourselves from the atrocities which happened in the past. Past is over. This is the only solution possible. We need to recognize that your enemy is exactly like you. You want to live. You want to exist exactly like you.
Bassam and Rami, thank you both very much for talking to our British audience this morning. We really appreciate it. And
thank you for listening to us.
Continued success with your campaigning.
Thank you very much.
Alison, do you have any of their hope?
I think it's very difficult because with every killing, with every rocket blast, you create more hate most often. So to get back to that point of love, which these two incredible men have done, is incredible. I just hope that perhaps there could be some hope in that the West has had their attention diverted back to the Middle East, which I think had been in the too difficult to handle box for quite some time, and that maybe there can be real thought about how we get to a lasting peace rather than just get through the next few weeks.
I mean, it's so powerful to hear from those two dads, wasn't it, Layla? And it sounded like the people who were listening to them are school kids.
Yeah, but it's how I feel too. And I've said many times, I'm a daughter of Palestine, but I am a friend of Israel. When I grieve, they grieve. I went to a vigil held by my Jewish community in the first week. I mourned the lives of Gazan children last week. And this narrative in this country that you have to be one or the other, we need to stop this now. And I agree, this is about the future. And I would ask everybody, don't give up that hope. Hope is everything. Peace is more difficult than war. If we think this is hard now, what comes next is going to be even more difficult. And we can't do this. If you look at conflicts like it, and every conflict is different, but Northern Ireland being one example, East Timor being another, the international community has to be there to hold the hands of both peoples until we get to the point where there's two states, two peoples, no one living in fear, everyone living in dignity and security.
Well, we agree. Since 1948, Israel's had non-stop military successes, but continuing failure to get a political stable solution. And what we've heard here tells us that actually there are lots of people in the Middle East who want that solution, and that's what we should be working for inexorably from now on.
Thank you all very much. Alison Phillips, David Davis, Layla Moran, thank you so much for being with us this morning. We really appreciate it. Thank you. That is it from us today. There's more from Paddy O'Connell and myself on Sunday's edition of Newscast, which will be out on BBC Sounds a little later. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a good Sunday. Thank you.
Honestly, the amount of shit she said in this show is fucking annoying, but whatever. AI. Woo! So about AI again. I did say this on Thursday, like, but holy fuck balls. Like, this is not, we've invented a computer, blah, blah, blah. It's a million times worse. We've invented something. And like I say, AI is not new. This is the weirdest thing. Like, people think AI is new. It's not. Someone somewhere was like, oh, we can make money, lots and lots of fucking money. That's what happened, right? They knew technology reached a point where they can go, wait, we can get a computer to do that and make money. Someone went, yep. Full steam ahead, ladies and gentlemen. Humans, no jobs. Fuck them people. We'll make so much profit. Everyone keeps saying there'll be more jobs. How? Please explain that algorithm to me. How do you make more jobs if the very thing that you've literally gave birth to is to replace a human being? Like, let that sink in, ladies and gentlemen. The very thing that we gave birth to is to take your job. It's not to make it better. Like, there's two different kinds of AI, in case people aren't aware. There's AI that solves problems, right? Solve problems. It's not the same thing as menial tasks. The only thing humans are good at is repetitive, I want to say meaningless because some things are repetitive but meaningful. Like, menial tasks, right? In other words, it's repetitive. If you've got a repetitive job, right? AI can do your job, basically. So let's say you answer the phone and you work in a call center and your job is to fix somebody's problem. Well, if you're selling a product, then they already know how to solve your problem. That's why you work in a call center, because they need people to answer the phone. But if you can get an AI to solve the problem with your voice, which is what you'd normally use if you're on a telephone, then kiss your job goodbye. I mean, you already know it, right? Because we've already got automated systems. That's AI right there. All it's doing is reacting to your voice or your prompts. Press 1 if you're a cunt. 1. That's AI. That's artificial intelligence right there. It's the stupidest, dumbest artificial intelligence ever. But still artificial intelligence, right? It's knowing what you're going to do and then choosing for you what it's going to do next, right? That's AI. But the thing is, we've made AI so good, like really that good, it doesn't need any input. It will literally go off on its merry little self and do it all on its own. That's the fucking problem. And people talk about productivity, and this is another mad thing that guy was talking. Productivity, or she said it, she doesn't even know what she's fucking saying, a dumb bitch. But anyway, productivity, you know, the productivity literally in the developed world has gone up by about 200% or some shit, and people have the same wages. I'm just saying that. So this idea of productivity versus good wages is complete bullshit as well. That's also a myth. So when people like this fucking weird looking cunt, whatever his fucking name was, weird face, where is he? This fucking scary guy with the hair who looks like he should be in Back to the Future. He looks like the guy from Back to the Future. This guy here. This dude. When you see him and he's saying, oh yeah, I'm good for you, better care. No, shut up. Stop lying. We know why we got a shitty National Health Service. This goes, first of all, a lot of the money goes to private corporations who own the hospitals. PFI, in case you don't know what that is. Private fucking whatever. Anyway, investment. Right. So, and that's from the fucking 90s. Fuck, that's not even now. We're still paying that back. We haven't even finished paying that back. I think that's in like 5 years or some shit. We managed to pay it back. Right. So that's from the 90s. That's because we have to build schools and hospitals. Let's build hospitals because the government before, called the Tories, right, didn't spend any money on fucking building new hospitals. So when Labour got into power, they had no money. So what did he do? He said, yo, private sector, can you come and build some new hospitals and we'll put it on the Never Never. That's what happened. And people got badass memories of like how this country fucking operates. The Tories destroyed the shit. We vote Labour and Labour managed to somehow get it working to certain levels, and then people get fed up and vote for the Tories again, and it all goes back to square fucking one, which is shite, right? And this AI thing is retarded, because people think AI is great. No, it's the worst thing ever. Even people who invented the shit, the grandfather himself of AI said this is a bad idea. Like, I've been doing this since the beginning. do not unleash this on the human population, because it's not what you think it is. It will take over your fucking job. It will destroy what humans do for a living, work. If you start doing, like, we live in a digital age. Most people use one thing in their life to make money, a fucking computer, unless you actually do manual labor, right? And even manual labor jobs have been taken over by fucking robots. If you work in the car industry or anything like that, you see the robots, right? That's the point. Now they're coming for your intellectual fucking labor ways to make money. Like I said, I wouldn't say a couple of years ago, many moons back, right? I used to make money making web pages because people couldn't code, right? Now computers can code. Literally, people who used to make web pages don't make web pages no more. You know why? Because there's fucking web pages that build web pages. So what do you think's going to happen to jobs in 10 years when you've got a job on a computer? Goodbye is what the fucking answer is to your fucking question. You won't have a job. And the smarter AI gets, the up the level of jobs it goes. Like, trust me. It's not like when trying to search for a fucking disease or anything. Like, that's a data set, which is completely different. Like, if you're saying AI is good for, like, I don't know, diseases, yeah, it is, because it can crunch fucking numbers and do shit, like recognize patterns in breast cancer and shit like that. That's good. It is medical shit and science, like weather, right? But the thing is, the adverse effect, or the other effect of AI is, it's going to take your fucking job at the same time. If you work on a computer, bye-bye. Give it a good example. And this is in my field of expertise. I do 3D modeling, 3D graphics and shit like that. AI, you can now literally type in, and this is an extension, you can go and check this for yourself, in Unity. I don't know if ever, it's a fucking game engine kind of thing, but anyway, point being is, right, you can type in now, make me a box. You don't need to make the box, which would be called manual labor, because I have to click and do it all. Now I can just type in, make me a box in a row. Boom. You got fucking 10 boxes in a row. Bro, I would normally have to make the box first, and then go click array. I want 10. And then there you go. Now, I don't even need to do anything. I just type it in. Make me 10 boxes in a row. 2 meters apart. Bingo. Goodbye 3D fucking artists. Bye-bye. That's my field of expertise. If I know it's already affecting me as a 3D artist, you're fucked. You're fucked. I'm just saying. Do you think picking up a phone in a call center is going to last much longer? No, it ain't. You're toast. It's just weird. And you got this fucking nut job running around saying there's going to be more jobs. What fucking cracker planet do you live on, pal? Like, literally. What are you selling me? Why do you need my data? Well, I'm trying to sell you Windows fucking 22. Shut up. Shut up. You lying cunt. So for all these people worried about AI, you should be. You fucking should be. And it is dangerous, because the fact is, AI is going to get better, quicker, than you can make jobs, proper jobs that require ambidextrous. What's the fucking word I'm looking for? Nimble shit, like hands. Hands are very hard to replace when it comes to computers. Like, in terms of, well, you need a robot, right? Robots still cost money, and they're not as good as humans. That's why you still get paid lots of money. I wouldn't say lots of money, but you still get paid money to work in like a warehouse, because fucking warehouse jobs are proper annoying for robots, that is. Not annoying for humans, clearly, because we can fucking move about any way we want. But you can't get humans to do it. Unless you got, like, Elon Musk, who's trying to make fucking robots to do your fucking jobs in a fucking warehouse as well. So, we're literally making ourselves more and more irrelevant the smarter we get at that point. And you think it's going to take ages? No, it's not. Like, it literally won't. If you think about the change in mobile phones, Mobile phones, that's hardware, right? Think about it. Hardware. That takes a long time. Material science, all the shit that goes into it, making things smaller, innovations. You don't get any of that with AI. AI is exponential growth. I can give AI something to do, and the AI will learn every time it makes a mistake. It literally will learn. That's its job. It don't get stupider, it gets smarter. Every time it makes a mistake, okay, that's a mistake. I will never forget it. That's what you need to understand. Computers don't forget shit. They don't forget anything. Humans forget all kinds of weird shit. I forget what day it is sometimes. Computers don't. Computer knows exactly what day it is every day. Knows exactly what time it is every time. It don't fuck around. Humans are fucked. If we unleash this shit on human society as it is, it's like giving cavemen mobile phones. Come on. First they're like, what's that? And then they're all fucking at it. Look at humans today. You give them mobile phones. You ever see a human without a mobile phone? No. No, you don't. They're all fucking hooked on it like crack babies. What are you gonna do when the computer is fucking better than you are at like 99% of the shit that you do? I mean, come on. And it ain't even that far away. 10, 15 years maybe, at the maximum. Fucking jobs. There won't be no fucking jobs. Elon Musk, all the brains on planet Earth have said, that's a stupid fucking idea. And the fact that they say lose control, yeah, they will lose control. Because AI will get that good. It will code itself at that point. And then we are fucking doomed. I'm not talking about Terminator. I'm just saying humans are that dumb. It will literally take over the lives of humans. Because humans are fucking idiots anyway. Fucking dumb fucking cunts that we are. Right? So we're fucking doomed. Is the point. I've got no comment, by the way, on Israel-Palestine, apart from them two dads. That should be clipped up. Because that was sad, but they were both correct. It's mad the way... the only people make sense are the people who've actually been, like, affected by it. Like, properly affected by it, though. In terms of, like, death. Like, sad, innit? Like, imagine losing your daughter to the people you're supposed to hate. And losing your daughter to the people you're supposed to hate. And then saying... yeah, it's probably a stupid idea, and they're killing each other. It's mad. And like she said, there's no point in picking sides. No winners in this game, mate. I'm banging on about international law. It's a fucking joke as well. Well, it's international law. Fuck off. You have international law because humans are fucking retarded anyway. Laws are there to remind you how to not kill another human or how to be nice to a human. They're not there because like fucking God made them. We made them to remind other humans. Can you just not go around being a fucking cockwomble? Just saying. That's what laws are there for. You can break them. There's nothing stopping you breaking any fucking law. Do you want to is the difference. So they're only guidance. So saying, oh, international law, Israel. It's like, get the fuck out of here. It's stupid. It's sad what's going on over there. And we know why. Because people read a fucking stupid book and think, my God's better than your God. And they've been that way ever since. Whole religion thing is fucking tripe anyway. Like, if you're spiritual, that's a different story. But if you're literally one of them, this is my team, fuck your team scenarios, that never ends well. Especially when you give fucking humans fire. That never ends well. Ever. Just saying. Alright, well, anyway, clearly wasn't Laura Kuenssberg. We got that gobshite on there again. I mean, I can't stand the BBC, honestly. They're so predictable. So predictable. It's like, why is Labour waffling about this whole ceasefire shit? It's like, because they've got loads of Muslims in the party who clearly want a ceasefire. And then she says, are you going to sack them? What, for having a fucking opinion? Are you having a laugh? Are you going to sack them? Collective responsibility in the cabinet? pretty sure that's an opinion. That's not like a policy, is it? In terms of like, you want a ceasefire? Yeah, okay. A lot of people do. Good luck with it though, because it ain't gonna fucking happen. Unless you're living in fucking fantasy land. I know, man. It's like, when I watch the media sometimes, that's why I never literally comment. Like, on my Twitter account, I never comment on the Palestine thing, ever. I just don't touch it with a barge pole. I would rather talk about, like, actual politics, like Donald Trump or some of the random shit. Don't go near Palestine. It's just, it's so crazy at people who are supposed to be intellectual or smart that they're so dumb. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you think the Middle East just happened? Like, even when someone said the Middle East just happened on the 7th, no, it hasn't. We all know the history of that place. It's been fucked for ages. It's been fucked since Britain drew the fucking map with France. Get over it, you fucking idiots. And you can go back then if you wanted to and say, why is Israel fucked? Yeah, because someone drew a fucking map and should never drew a fucking map. Bit like Iraq. You drew that fucking map. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna force people to live together. It's not a fucking good idea, is it? Especially when you've never fucking lived there. But it's fine. Draw a fucking map in the middle of fucking nowhere. And expect people to be happy about it. Twat. I'm just saying. It helps if you read history books instead of like taking sides. I don't want anybody to die in that conflict, to be honest with you. I've got no skin in the game, like I said. I know one thing though, it's based on religion, and that shit sucks. So, that's my 2 cents. Anywho, back tomorrow, more fucking Israel-Palestine shit probably, sadly. And if there is, you know I won't stream it, because I just can't be fucking arsed. It just doesn't sit in. AI shit's interesting though, probably cover that if there's a, let's say, AI conference this week maybe. I might cover that. Because that is funny. It's funny because humans are going, well, we invented some shit, we don't know what it does. Oh no, we know exactly what it does. We know exactly what it does. And exactly what it's going to do. I mean, the fact that the guy who sends rockets into space for a fucking laugh, who wrote PayPal, in case you don't know, he said, yeah, we're probably going to need universal basic income because it's going to take your fucking job. I'm just saying. So the government's are going to have to print money for free, just so you can spend it on stupid shit. Consumables. Right, we live in a consumer system, right? You get the point? So where's the money coming from if you got no job? Like, literally, where does that money come from? So the government's going to have to give you money to collect taxes. Which makes no sense whatsoever, but okay. Okay. Capitalism is going to die. I mean, capitalism's already dead anyway. We don't live in a capitalist system really anymore. We live in a monopoly slash socialist slash autocracy thing. It's a bit of a mishmash of all the stupidest shit we came up with since the fucking Stone Age, you know? So yeah, I don't know. It's getting interesting though. I mean, I forgot the guy's name. He was a scientist. I think he worked for MIT. Talk about the singularity. I don't think he meant this kind of singularity, but I think we're getting to one where the reality of our intellect is gonna match, well, surpass our Stone Age way of treating each other. So our social aspect of how we live is gonna collide with technology. Our own ego is gonna bitch slap us, and that's gonna be an interesting singularity, shall we say. That them two are going to collide. Anyway, next 20 years are going to be mental. That's for sure. That's if we actually live that long. Someone's going to press a red button by mistake. No one's humans anyway. World War III and all that shit, I know. Anywho, I'm going out because I'm just waffling. I'm going to go play some more Cyberpunk. I will see you all tomorrow, maybe. Don't forget to hit the like.